What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Run Your Mouth podcast. And this is nice. I'm live in my living room talking to you guys at 11 a.m. And firstly, been very pleasantly surprised with how many people have been willing to hang out for the live podcast. I found both the ones that I did were particularly fun. I enjoyed the Pittsburgh one a little bit more than the one I did in Sandpoint just because it was funnier. I don't always have control of the news. You know what I mean? Like, I don't always know what's going to come up, what jokes I'm going to write. But I will say that, like, I can't meander as much in front of a live crowd. If anything, I find it draws more focus. And then I'm like, shit, there's people looking at me. I better tell them something important. So, I don't end up streaming about the diarrhea I had in the morning. I don't talk about the coffee I had, about the problems I've had on airplanes, about, all these trials and tribulations of daily life, of traveling the universe, getting on planes, getting off of planes. And so I thought today, now that we're in the living room and I can relax, I can just yell into the hallway, let the neighbors know that guy who likes yelling a whole bunch to a couple people on the internet is back. So I figured, we could get into some of the nonsense stuff. So first, I just want to let you guys know, no Hunter Biden jokes on this episode whatsoever. I'm not going to tell a single Hunter Biden joke. You know why? Because this weekend in Atlanta, it's actually not in Atlanta. I'm sorry. It's in Nashville, except it's not really in Nashville. I just say it's Nashville because we're about 40 minutes outside of Nashville. But I want people to think we're in a major metropolitan area. So that way they think, oh my God, Rob, what an unbelievable comedian that guy is. He gets to play major metropolitan areas. He's not one of these people that just has to play little cities outside of the big cities. He's big time now. He's traveling the whole globe playing in major metropolitan areas. So, that's why I just say I'm in Atlanta. That's why I just say I'm in Nashville. It's a marketing trick. But I'll cop to you guys and let you know that I'm being full of shit and I'm not actually in those towns. As long as you have the inside scoop and you're listening to the podcast, then you can know I'm not actually going to be in Atlanta. I'm not even flying into Atlanta. I'm going to be driving there. And then I'm not even going to be in Nashville. Well, all right. Anyways, here's what I'm trying to say. Hunter Biden, I'm going to be with BK Chris, the funnest to live podcast with. And we're going to be doing a full episode, Hunter Biden breakdown. We're going to be looking at all the dick pics. We're going to be looking at the porn. We're going to be talking about this guy's partying lifestyle. We're going to get into all the dirty details. You know why? Because CPU God, the person who built the Alex Jones Theater, because he's got the archive of all the Alex Jones content that ever existed. You ever go to YouTube and you're like, hey, how come I can't watch the good Alex Jones stuff? You're not going to find it there. You got to travel to Nashville and then go find CPU God's farm. And then you can sit down in the Alex Jones Theater and he'll broadcast all day. You can bring your own popcorn. You can sit there all day and he'll take you on a guide of the best of Alex Jones, which, by the way, I'm going to talk to him because maybe we can add that to the lineup of things that we do. Maybe we'll start the stand-up show whatever time I put into the Eventbrite, which is hopefully the local time. Can I just tell you, talk about failed technology. How does Eventbrite not automatically, when I put the location in as being Los Angeles, then automatically populate the time to that time zone? I mean, how do they not make it retard proof that I keep getting emails like, hey, you didn't set for the local time zone? And it's like, no, I don't want to do it at 4 p.m, which would have been New York City time, 7 p.m. That doesn't make any fucking sense. All right. Anyways, you see, this is why it's nice to be in the living room. You get to meander. I don't have the pressure on the crowd. I don't have to focus. We don't even have to cover any news topics. We could just jibber jabber the whole time. Is that a racist way to say it? I don't know. All right. Let's just keep a little bit of focus here. Hunter Biden, we're going to be doing a full breakdown, full stand-up show, followed by the live pod at Andrew's farm. That one was a blast last year. And then I'm going to be at Fayetteville. For people that came out the last time when I did the end-of-year misinformation spectacular, this time I'm doing stand-up. BK Chris is doing stand-up. We might also do a little bit of a shorter live pod if we can pull it off of that venue. So pick up your tickets. This is going to be a hell of a weekend. This is Summer Porch Tour at its finest. And then also, if you're in or around New York City, I'm going to be at Caroline's next week with my good friend Menu and Hart. He is headlining Caroline's. Caroline's is a very cool, big-time New York City venue. And, show up, show some support so that when I open up for my friend and I'm telling vaccine jokes, I don't make the entire audience really pissed and then blow my friend's opportunity to headline at Caroline. So help me not blow my friend's opportunity to headline Caroline's by getting so many Run Your Mouthers showing up that I can go deep on the material I do now that New York City crowds really don't like. Because, I'm talking about women's with penises. I'm talking about vaccine mandates. It's not even comedy at this point, except I'm lying. It's funny. It's stand-up comedy. Show up, buy your tickets. All right, let's get into some topics, which, like I said, no news yet. We'll get to, the news later. But I want to start with this. I don't know what tickets is. I put it right. I keep organized lists. I'm not like Dave who can just off the top of his head just spew brilliance. I need lists here. I need PowerPoint presentations. And the first thing on my list, which says tickets. I don't know. I don't even know what that. Oh, I remember. Driving to Pittsburgh, that's a long ass drive. 7 hours there, 7 hours back. If you take pee breaks, if you check it every, you stop at every gas station for seltzers. You keep debating, hey, do I want to eat snacks? Want to eat, not want to eat snacks? Off the highway, back on the highway. You pass a town, you're like, hey, maybe there's something interesting in this town. Then you get off the highway, realize it's just an entrance ramp to another thing. Now you're headed to another town. I'm pretty good at speeding and then turning a 7 hour drive into like an 8.5 hour drive. Hey, did that place have snacks? Okay, I'm not gonna eat the snacks. All right, now I bought the snacks. Ah, shit, now I gotta use the bathroom again. I mean, I'm fun. I'm fun. You want to come on the road with me? I'll see a sign that there's a pie factory, and I'll be like, listen, we're not eating any pies, but then let's look at the pies, and then I'll stop at the pie factory, and then I'll look at them, and then finally I'll succumb, and I'll be like, we're not eating this till later, and then I'll just shove my face in the car. I don't even eat pie with a fork and spoon. I'll just reach in there and hope I get pulled over. And then the officer's like, are you doing heart surgery in here? And then you got to explain to him, no, I'm just eating cherry pie with my hands. This is a long ride, and you guys keep giving me tickets and telling me I can't speed. So, I'm just trying to observe the law. And so you leave me with no choice but to eat cherry pie while I'm driving. I got 2 tickets. First ticket on I-95. I'm going 75 and a 55, but it's not really 75 and a 55. Dude, I-95, it's like the most traveled highway in the world. People are fucking moving. They're wheeling and dealing. And then here was the thing. I was talking on the phone. I wasn't just talking on the phone. I'm on speakerphone. I'm yelling, hey, you gotta buy that stock. I told you to sell that stock. I'm balls deep into this phone call. And then I see the lights behind me. I literally say to the guy I'm on the phone with, hey, I'm being pulled over. I need you to do me a favor. You got to hang up this call. Friend hangs up the call. I get pulled over, and then the guy's like, I don't want you pulling over there. You got to keep going forward and then pull over. And I'm, it was like, but you yell at the cop, and the cop can't hear you. But I think he can tell that you're yelling, like when you put your arms up, and then he goes, all right, this guy's confused at what I said. And then he's like, you got to go through the bridge, and then you pull over. There's more room to pull over. And then the guy, I couldn't even believe I was getting a speeding ticket. I was like, wait, this isn't about the phone thing? 75 and a 55 on I-95. That's a crazy ticket. And then I got lucky on the next ticket. The next ticket I got lucky on. I was on a phone call, but this time I had my fancy headset on. I'm spacing out. I'm thinking about whatever. I'm coming down this big hill. And in the corner of my eye, this cop, he had a good spot. I mean, there was like the hill. He was like in the blind spot of the hill. So you could not see this guy. And I guess no one else on my Googles or my Wazes, nobody flagged this cop. I come down, I see this guy slam on the brakes. When I looked at that O'Donnell, I was going 100, which is too fast. I like to go 80. This has been my philosophy. It's kept me from speeding tickets for a long time. You want to be about 15 above the speeding limit. I like float around 80. If you're in a 55, you go to about 80. Usually you can spot the guy. You can get it down. So you're only about 10 over. They don't even really ticket you. If you're driving something that's 70, you can go as high as 90. Because once you press that brake, you kind of drop 10 pretty quickly. Then they flag you about 10 over. Sometimes they just warn you. They let you go on your way. So this guy pulls me over, and I'm like, I'm fucked on this one. But then he ended up being cool. He gave me a jaywalking on the highway ticket, which is apparently the most expensive ticket you can get that's a non-moving violation. But then you're like, well, is it going to show up on my insurance record that I was just walking on a highway? That doesn't sound like, I don't know if I want a permanent record of that. I haven't ever jaywalked on a highway. I'm not that stupid. But it really ruined the ride home, because then I was like, fuck, I was doing the thing where you just put on cruise control, but then you're just sitting in the car and you're like, it's like, I don't know. Not that if anyone's driven with me, they could tell you, I feel like I'm an aggressive driver, but I'm a safe driver. And yes, do I like driving in S patterns, or as Sid likes to call it, I'm like a serpent on the highway getaway driver. But like, that's the way you put on your tunes. And then that's like what's natural to me. You're just kind of flowing with the road. But then all of a sudden, if you got to watch that thing and make sure you're under 80 and it's just open lanes, you're like tapping at the steering wheel. You're like, I don't want to ever drive to Pittsburgh again. Like, what the fuck am I driving to Pittsburgh for? That gig was a lot of fun. So it was worth doing. But man, I pretty soon I'm going to have to become a trains and planes guy. That always sucks when you end up like showing up to a date on a scooter. And then you got to explain to like the lady, listen, I got too many speeding tickets. That never comes off well. They're never like, oh, there's too many cops out there, and I see the way that they're giving tickets. They never take your side on that. They just assume you ran over someone's babies. That's what they assume. They assume that you're an alcoholic, you're a drunk driver, you went out there, you ran over some kids' children's, and now you're trying to get around on a scooter and passing that off as normal, as if it's the policeman's fault. But I'm going to stand by it. It is the policeman's fault. Now they got all these fucking cameras in New York City. Every week I get a new ticket in the mail. I think I'm about a month away from not being allowed to legally drive in New York City, which at least is fun. because then you get to it's a nice talking point. People are like, hey, how come you don't drive anymore? And you're like, I'm not even illegally allowed to do that anymore. All right, next is Uber back seats. I've noticed, maybe this is just an Uber thing, but like when you get into back seats now, like that annoying like ding, 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 ding. When you're not, but by the way, I'm really good at not hearing that. I can tone out one of those fucking ring a ding dinger dinger dingers all day long. I get in my car, I buckle my seatbelt if I'm going long enough, then it makes sense. If you're driving 10 minutes in your car, you really want to buckle your seatbelt, but ding, ding. And so you're like, all right, I'll buckle. But now, if you're in the backseat of an Uber, they do that shit. Firstly, I'm turning back to pro cab. I don't know. Some of these Uber prices are out of control, and now you got to buckle you buckle yourself in the back seat. Sometimes they still send you messages that you got to wear a mask. I mean, how gay is this corporation? All right, so we're going anti-Uber, but I do want to come out as pro small planes, dude. You go into like small enough airports, and you feel like you're flying private. Like I don't know how come the TSA can't figure out how to just operate every single time you're on a flight as if it was like a small airport. Dude, small airports are a fucking breeze. You show up, security maybe takes you 10 minutes. The people that operate the security, I don't know, they're not like frantic. They don't have like they're going to miss a flight energy. They're nice to you. You can take your time. You can talk to an old lady. You don't have to push her out of the way and go, hey, listen, that's my card. You get your own cart, you dumb old bitch. It's not my fault that you decided to travel alone and you got crippled legs. I mean, that's what happens. You get to these other airports and it feels like if you don't seize every single bin and you don't, I use my basketball coach days where, I'll box these old bitches out with my fucking big ass butt. That's why I squat in the gym, is to make sure no one tries to encroach on where I'm putting down my containers. And so anyways, you get to these small airports, you can get there 10 minutes beforehand with all the drugs you want to do on your flight. They let you right through. It's no big deal. And then they pull the best move ever. Don't fall for their scam where they want you to check your bags. You don't have to ever pay for your bag. If your bag is too big, you know what they do? They just gate check it and then it's there waiting for you. Now, sure, if you got to take shits at some of these airports and they got those crappy doors, you can barely squeeze yourself into the stall. You need to bring your own lubricant, to wedge your bag and your body just to get yourself through these little tiny stall doors so that you can take a shit. And then you try getting through the TSA security and they go, hey, listen, this is too much lubricant. And you're like, listen, I'm just trying to fit into your stall doors. You get bigger stall doors. I don't need to fly with my lube. I'm perfectly fine with my spit when I jerk off in your flight bathrooms. I didn't need to bring this lube with me. I'm just trying to fit into your bathroom stall doors. That's on you. That's not on me. All right. So anyways, first thing small airports get right is they got space. They got a calm to them. It's like an airport that went to like a yoga clinic in the Far East and it came back and now it's got a sense of tranquility. But here's the other thing that they do well. They don't have any space on smaller planes for you to stash your bag. They only have small spaces for your little backpacks, which forces everybody to gate check their bags. But now here's what's great about gate checking the bag is that it doesn't have to go through this whole wheelie system, get mixed in with the other bags, where you got to stand on a line and then there's a treadmill and you're standing there. And now once again, you got to box out the same old lady. And you're like, didn't you learn your lesson the whole time that I'm going to be the one person who's going to be aggressive and box you out? You got dementia too? Go stand on another part of this conveyor belt, or get some family with loved ones that will help you fly. Why you got to look at me with those sad grandma eyes for? All right, I'm not trying to pick on old ladies here. I'm trying to talk about the thrill of flying into smaller airports. So here's what's great about the smaller airport. They just wheel all the bags off on this big tray. It's almost like a buffet of bags. You get off the plane, the buffet of bags is there. You grab it, you're on your way. I don't know why every single plane can't just go with this system. Just get rid of the overhead bins, make it that you can just bring your backpack and then do everything as gate check, no check bags, problem solved, better security. What other problems you guys have? robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I'm going to become a logistics expert. You know what? We'll call it the whinycuntyjew.com, where you hire me to show up and then I just complain about everything, but you actually come along. It's not like the customer surveys, you fill out the forms. They don't read those forms. So you take me along and I go, why the fuck would you do it this way? Why the fuck would you do it that way? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? And then maybe they start actually fixing stuff. All right, I got some other stuff going on here, but I feel like we got some comments. Let's take a couple comments here. Funny how things change just in 2 years. We go from a global pandemic to pandemic of the unvaccinated to pandemic of the highly vaccinated. These are true facts, but I'm not trying to talk about the news yet. So what do you got to bring these things up for? Also, Uber back seats are not nearly spacious enough to get ahead in. You see, this guy gets it. The company needs to address this and get rid of sedans, full cab trucks, and SUVs only. The other thing that's nice about getting getting ahead in the backseat of a cab is that it does have like that kind of like wall, so you can pretend like the guy doesn't see you, and you haven't prepaid for the destination. So if you're not done, you can tell the guy to keep on driving, and he's like, "Where do you want me to go?" And you're just like, "Just go. I don't care. Drive to fucking Texas. I'm just not done yet. When I'm done, I'll pick a fucking destination. Can you keep moving?" If you really want to go down the archives of the Real Ass podcast, I did maybe tell a story about an incident similar to that happened with a friend of mine, because I'm not that kind of a man 10 years ago when I drank more. Here, we'll take one more from Colmorn. My lady just circumcised me again in the back of this dude's Nissan Altima about 4 days ago. Well, sometimes it grows back, and when it grows back, it looks even worse than the way you like initially had it. So I think she made the right call. And then also, if you time the bumps of the back seat good enough, it actually helps, because it's like a little bit like when you take a Band-Aid off slowly, like it fucking hurts. So if you're trying to like cut in and do your own circumcision and you're doing it at home and you're just laying there flat, like it's going to take some time. But like if you get a good like car bump and like you just get like a lot of it done at once, so you got a good girlfriend, that's a keeper. Seattle coffee. My whole life I've heard people talk about how good Portland and Seattle coffee is. I think it's more of a Seattle thing. Portland, I don't remember that the coffee was particularly good. And I'm a coffee snob. I'm not that like I don't fucking swish it around. You know what I mean? I don't show up to a place and then sniff it and then gargle it in my mouth and then go, "Oh, this is from the Nicaraguan volcanoes." I'm doing like a Yogi Bear voice. Yogi Bear likes his coffee. It's a volcano coffee. It's a very nice. All right. So, anyways, I go to Seattle. We get off a plane, haven't eaten. I got an empty stomach. We show up to a place and I go, "Oh man, I'm going to try myself some of this Seattle coffee." I go into the Seattle coffee spot and man, I've traveled the world. I've had greasy diarrhea. I've had wet stools. I've plastered and ruined some bathrooms. There are plaques in my name in some hotel rooms recognizing the diarrhea that I left in their establishments. But never have I experienced what I've experienced with Seattle coffee. I ended up doing lines of Pepto-Bismol. I was chopping up and snorting Pepto-Bismol and shoving more Pepto-Bismol up my ass to try and solve what happened to me when I drank that Seattle coffee. It's like a pure liquid. I feel like someone told Antifa I was coming into town. I don't even think I was that important, but apparently Antifa knew that I was coming into town, and they're like, we don't want this guy coming back here, so you better fill up his coffee with some laxatives. It was so bad the first place I went to, I actually thought that I thought the guy drugged me. I really did. I was like, I think that guy poisoned me. He was some weird, like, polite guy who seemed to probably have had a meth problem earlier in life, because he didn't have like all that many teeth. And then he had a blue hair thing going on, but then he had this devious smile where he was being a little bit too polite. And I knew something was suspicious. I think maybe they just knew that I was a tourist, and that if you're a tourist, you shouldn't be drinking Seattle coffee. And so I really thought that the first guy poisoned me. And then like all the way up until the show started, I was dealing with the situation there. And then the next day I got another, and I was like, "Oh, it's just the coffee here." So I guess props to Seattle. That's why everyone there is so fucking thin. Dude, I've never seen thin white women in a town like this anywhere in my entire life. So I guess if you got to lose weight, instead of just fucking go to Seattle, spend a couple days there, drink some coffee. That shit is legit. All right, what else do I have on my list? You know what? I see that Robert's here bright and early. So before I even get into any news topics, why not talk to our loyal sponsor, the Run Your Mouth podcast. The guy makes sheath underwears, and I got a whole bunch of sheath talk here. Here, Robert, let me bring you on. Let me bring this off.
Hey.
Note about the guy who got himself circumcised. Let me get a equally
turn my hat around.
Ooh, you got the special edition Run Your Mouth. There it is, right on the side. And do we end up sending one or two out, or do we have to like get another shipment to make it
No,
over?
I believe we did. If we didn't, then whoever was supposed to get it, please message Robbie and we'll get that out. We do have one left for sure.
Hell yeah. Let's get the last one to Davey Smith. See if he'll actually wear it. He said it on Part of the Problem.
He did say that. I heard it. I hear everything. I love Davey Smith. He's got me fucking like questioning whether I still smoke weed every day. So he's a very influential person, minus all the abortion talk, lol. But anyways, I joke.
Maybe
Okay.
just give it a try. Give it a whirl. It's tough though. If you're like a full-time podhead, it's not that easy to make that switch.
Yeah, I'm like Louis J, probably similar. I don't know. I'd have to compare how much I smoke to other people. I
What do
try
you
to
like?
keep it like these tiny little bowls, a couple times a day, a few times a day, but I'm not smoking blunts like all the time at all.
Are
Like
you like an ounce a month?
no, like a quarter or like a half ounce. I don't know. I don't weigh it, but
I hear you. Well, the other side to it is, I think if you were into harder drugs and then you found yourself to a functional marijuana lifestyle, then sometimes, you do just have to pick your battles and go, hey, I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. And this is functional,
yeah, that was one of my success tips is like don't smoke weed all day. But then you look at Louis J and me, and we're semi, and a lot of people that smoke weed are successful. So that's not one of the pillars.
I think a part of it is I think you can get to a point in your life where you've got enough structure and infrastructure that like it kind of fits your lifestyle, and so you can get away with it. But I stand by, for me, I don't think anyone does their best work.
Exactly.
Now, the concept of best work is relative because, like, for example, if you quit smoking weed and then you got some crazy anxiety problem, you're eating donuts and jerking off all day, you're also not doing your best work. Or if you suddenly become an alcoholic or you're smoking cigarettes, like, you know what I mean? So you're cutting. So you got to kind of pick your battles. But for me, I personally find I like my marijuanas, and I smoke. I'm actually smoking a little bit more now than I was a little while ago. The Shedcast guys have kind of brought me back. But I like it on the road. I like it on the road because I don't drink as much like after the late show.
Yeah.
But I try and here's a couple of the lessons that I've learned. One, it's a little bit like, what they say with Coke, like if you do like more than like one bump, it starts, I guess the damage amplifies. So I've kind of found with weed also that if I can limit like taking like a single pull or two off a joint, then like I wake up less. I hate waking up stoned the next morning.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't like.
Little baby hits, take it easy because the shit is strong these days. And you don't want to overdo it and be like retarded. You want to just be in a zone and motivated. And if it's bringing you down, that's a personal issue. I do want to say we dropped our G6 edition of Sheath Underwear today. It is the latest, like it's the Generation 6. It's also kind of G6. Fly like a G6, like airplane. So you're riding in style, you're flying in style. We said it landed early, unlike most airlines these days. The G6 landed early, so it's.
And what's the quality? What are we talking about? Bamboo material, soft cotton. What do we got?
Yeah, you should have gotten a pair, and if you didn't, somebody's fired.
All right, I think I just got it yesterday, but I did not realize that it was the G6. I was just like, awesome. I got some more sheaths here, but I haven't tried it out.
Yeah, it's a horizontal fly. It's bamboo. Okay. It's a single pouch, so you put the whole package in there, but you're flying private.
All right.
I don't know. It's like
no, I like that.
It was a play on words.
More cabin space. Can I write a copy for this?
Yes.
All right,
please.
I guess I got to take it for a flight first. And then
test flight.
Yeah, I got to take it for a test flight, and then I can drum up some copy. Robert, I got a confession for you here.
Tell me.
Which is I was in Denver recently, and I wanted to just surprise you at the store, and I wanted to bring my camera and demand getting a dick fitting so I could get more properly fitted sheaths.
Yeah.
But you were further away from me than I'd expected, so
yeah.
I just didn't make it. But when I'm back out there for summer porch tour, and we do, I ran the steps at Red Rocks one day, and I was like, I should do this with Robert. I feel like this would be a fun workout.
There's a Manitou, it's the incline, it's called the Manitou Springs Incline, it's like a mile-high staircase, I would li or I'll meet you or whatever, but yeah, we gotta get
I'm down
together
for
and
that. Fine, I'm 100% down. Because I had
oh, yeah.
fun. Dude, Red Rocks was fun, but it was like, it was tough. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that thing was a workout.
Yeah, it's like you'll be sore f j like Jello legs kinda afterwards, like, "Oh, shit, I gotta go back down now."
I gotta ask you, I saw a video of you guys on IG with someone jumping off a bridge that looked too high to be jumping off of. What was the story there?
Well, it was I'm not sure if you're talking about the guy that jumped out of the helicopter.
No, I saw someone just step up on a bridge, and firstly, even the way he stepped up was ballsy because he had to actually jump off and clear some room to hit the water. So that was
Oh, yeah.
wild that he just like it was wild the way he casually stepped up. That's some parkour shit. Because if you messed up that step up, you were dead. And then he cleared what you had to jump, but visually it looked like as almost as high as the George Washington. Now it's hard to tell on bridges because I've been on the George. I used to jog it all the time in high school, and it looked like you'd be able to survive that jump, but I
Oh.
know that you can't. But that jump looked like it was too much.
Dude, that would break your bones. I didn't even see that. Yeah, that's, my team, they're constantly coming up with new content. That's why we pay them. Yeah, and it's funny because we really get the like, the impact from guys like you and Dave and Tim Dillon and Matt Malice and these when we do our own content, it's like we get, like, shadow banned or nobody really cares because 'cause we're an underwear company.
You'll get there though. You
Yeah,
guys are
we're
still a younger company.
exactly, 10 years, right? Like, before you kinda make it in comedy, I feel like and we're not a comedy, but we're, like, 6 or 7 years into really
And it
the
sets a tone when people
zeitgeist.
find you, they look back on kind of the brand, it sets a flavor. So I like it.
Well, I like you, Bobby the Fire.
There you go. Save it for the run. We can bang after that. All right,
Alright, sweet.
Robert. We
Yes.
bring you on monthly basis. Usually it's earlier in the month. This month I've been running around doing the live shows, haven't been in the living room all that much.
Yeah.
So we do like to get those monthly business tips. What do you got for us this month?
Get in good with the Jewish community.
Call it. That's it. That's all you need.
No, but I mean, there's a couple of things with that. It's like you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So like the people you hang out
Ooh.
with
Okay.
are it's gonna influence how you evolve and develop your personality and characteristics and whatever. So it's like you want to hang out with people you want to be like that are doing well, that are doing what you kind of want to do or somewhere along that same path. Like a lot of my friends own businesses and I identify them and we talk about it. And so if you want to own a business, it can be helpful to get in the mind of someone else who owns a business and or people that are reaching for the dreams and going for it like you. And I mean, we're not in the same business, but we're both hustling and we have that kind of mindset, that hustler's attitude. So it's hanging out with don't hang out with a bunch of deadbeat losers.
There's a line in Robert Greene's book, The 48 Laws of Power. You ever read that one?
I have it, but I have it downstairs, but
It's
I don't.
it's a worthwhile read. To give it some context, or at least the way I see it, there's some really good pieces of insight in there. It's almost written to me in like a comedic way of like as if you're using it as a guide for evil. But
Hmm.
that's kind of like the marketing spin on it. I promise you, there's really good information in there.
Yeah.
One of them, which I thought was one of the most valuable insights of the book, and this will be a misquote, but I'll get the theme accurate. But he says basically, the best form of therapy is hanging out with people that have the skills that you don't have.
Mm.
And I've seen it in my own life is that sometimes like you can see things that successful people are doing and absorb it. And sometimes it's just
Hmm.
having the comfort of asking for things, specifically like when I worked in sales offices, sometimes you would just see like people that were closing deals and like they were just better at being comfortable asking to close the deal. And you could just be
Mm.
like, oh, if I'm more, like you just kind of picked up, oh, if I'm more comfortable, or you would hear the way they talk to people and you're like, okay, if I
Yes.
talked a little bit more smoothly, or if you pick up skills that you would not have. And one of the big ones is sometimes you see how hardworking the successful
Yeah.
people are. and
Yeah.
it kind of kicks you in the pants to go like, oh, that's what it takes.
Exactly. Yeah. And, it also helps to be tall and good looking and very charismatic, but you
We're
don't
getting past both of those things. We don't have either of those
I
attributes,
know.
and we're overcoming it, no problem.
Exactly. So it's about your attitude, and your personality will have a huge impact on your success, well, way over your intelligence. You don't have to be a genius. You have to be kind of be cool. Like, be a good dude. When you make deals, keep your word. That's a big thing in business, but I don't want to get too all over the place, but just like your attitude and having like a grateful attitude and not being like pissy and moany and gripey all the time. Like, you want to be good to work with, fun to work with, like you and
Manage your
I.
mood. But I think let's. I like keeping it to one.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
and I think the good tip here is surrounding yourself with some good people or
Mhm.
seeking out good people. And I'll say in comedy, I'm very fortunate that I think in comedy, your best opportunity to network with people is if you can. I'll pay it forward to you comedians out there. The people that have shit going on right now and are famous, you're going to have a hard time like becoming friends with. Now, that doesn't mean that like you don't have matching personalities, you're not both in comedy, but like there's going to be so many people that are trying to network with them and nip at them and this and
Yep.
that like they're just going to be a little bit defensive because even though
Mhm.
you might be cool and you might be a genuine friend to that person, there's going to be enough other people that are not that are going to probably they're going to ruin your opportunity to like organically meet them.
Yeah, they're trying to, like, mooch off of his success, these other
Yeah.
people, and they ruin your potential. It's like Joe Rogan, he gets hit up too many times or too
Yeah, like
often to
the exactly. Now,
yeah.
that's not to say that I met Rogan once at Gas Digital. He could not have been nicer. Like I was
Mm,
actually surprised by how laid
awesome.
back and nice he was in person. I was not expecting that. I figured maybe behind the cameras he was a little bit more of what you heard of Howard Stern back in the day. Like
Ooh,
maybe he was with security, wearing his glasses. Hey, don't talk to that guy. You know what I mean? It wasn't any of that. He was
hell yeah.
very, very comfortable. But your opportunity to network with Rogan was 20 years ago at the Comedy Store. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think the best I pay this forward, and this I was very lucky to become friends with Lewis and Dave when they were probably 4 years ahead of me in comedy. They were at like just fucking hilarious comedians, but they
Mhm.
weren't like famous with a ton going on. So like I was able to genuinely kind of like hang out with them and like I found that was kind of the window with a bunch of people. And like I said, I actually am not a good networker. I didn't show up to these places being like, I mean, I showed up to the clubs being like, you got to hang out at the clubs, but I did not do a good job at like being fun. It was such a scary place to hang out. It was not like where my personality shined and where I was able to like, but the point I'm trying to make is I actually one of my regrets being now 11 or I still have not done a great job networking. And that even now I kind of will be like, fuck it. I'll just produce my own show out of my living room or, fuck it. I'm not hanging out at the clubs. I'll do my own show in people's backyards. Like I'm fueled by fuck you. I'll do it on my own.
I like that
And
though. There's
I
a little
like
bit
it.
of yeah. I mean, there's not one way to get it to the top. You take these kind of like take this advice and then do with it what you will. You have your own personality, and if you're a do-it-yourselfer, maybe that is the road for you. But you still network, you still make these connections, and when you do hang out with people, try to make sure you're hanging out with people of high quality. And one of the other cool things about that is if you're kind of hanging out with someone who's on the path like you, and then they get a jump, they make it to that next step, and you're like, oh, fuck. I got to step up because my boy is making me look like a punk. And I got to, now, and it's so there's a competitive aspect with your friends that, if they get ahead, you want to jump up ahead too. And you'll both elevate each other kind of type thing.
No, I agree. I also I wish I had spent more time, and I still could be doing this talking comedy with people that have been doing it longer than me. Because
Hmm.
sometimes like I actually have technical conversations with people and they'll tell me something that like is a lifesaver that I wouldn't have figured out on my own. I'll give you an example. Greer Barnes is an absolute killer in New York City. He's like a New York City legend. You throw him up on shows. He's probably the toughest follow. I don't think he's spending as much time in New York, but he's
Okay.
like absolutely phenomenal stand-up comedian. I did something on a show once, and he just gave me a tip, and I never would have figured this out, and he was just right, which was like, if something happens in the crowd and you get heckled and you leave your joke, you can't come back to it.
Uh,
So like if you're like, let's say you're like 3 jokes in on your topic on whatever, it doesn't matter. You're in the middle of telling a dating story and something happens to the audience where you got to like deal with an audience person, like you have to address their heckle, you have to, whatever the hell it is. If you
yeah.
leave like the little planet of your joke, you can't come back to it. You got to move on to the next joke.
Hmm.
And I don't need people, I don't need to talk too many technicals. I can just tell you, I listened to him and he's 100% right. Every once in a while, I try not listening to that. And then if I go back to the joke, it never works. That was just a technical tip that he'd been doing comedy long enough. And like, he relayed to me. I had one with Dave recently where we did the gig in Reno and I said to him, I was like, I'm very good in front of like 100 people. I'm very
Hmm.
comfortable with 100 people. I feel like I'm hanging out and I'm talking. I have not done that many shows yet of 300 plus people, which obviously the goal is to get there. And it's
Hmm.
better when you sell more tickets, you play in front of bigger crowds. That's the goal.
Oh.
So the first show we did in Reno, I'm not used to like, I guess 300 people that are so into what you're doing that like they'll just clap at you making a point, where like I'm not used to kind of the rally energy of a 300-person crowd that specifically likes you. I
Yeah,
haven't
that's
dealt with
wild.
that. And
They're
I
already on your
noticed
side.
they're
Yeah.
already on your side, and that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. And I
Yeah.
noticed that I ended up in a little bit of a problem where like you want to bully the audience into your rhythm and you don't want them to let them kind of like
Ah.
dictate. So I noticed that there were a few too many things getting like applause breaks that were like then not letting me get to like my punchline that would have gotten a laugh. And that like after 10 minutes of that, I felt like I was kind of, for lack of better verbiage, I don't think anyone in the audience said anything other than Rob did great. But in my head, I was kind of playing out of key, where it was like I was trying to like refine my rhythm a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
and he gave me the tip of like watching out for early in the set, not having like, don't have the things that they can cheer at without getting to a punchline. You know what I mean? You
Uh-huh.
kind of
Yeah.
have to like if you have those
Structure.
moments, yeah, if you have those moments where you're giving them something to like cheer at, they're gonna cheer at it. So that's kind of, you know what I mean? You got
Put
to
it at
kind of,
the end.
yeah, you got to kind of police for that so that you're not allowing that to happen. And he said it in much better, like he gave me the insight much more clearly. But the second he said that, I was like, oh yeah, he's right. And then I noticed like I had 1 or 2 things in my vaccine chunk that was not a joke, but something that the audience would get really excited about. So I was like, you know what, that's throwing me off. We're taking it out.
Uh-huh. Well,
Yeah.
see, you learn as you go. Like we did this thing. This is way insider baseball. I don't know how much time we have, but the G6 we just talked about. We got it. We had them. We already have them. We have them, but we were trying to do something different. And so we're like, let's just do a pre-order and see if people get like more hyped about it. And it was kind of like a dud. So we're like, well, fuck it, let's just release it, but you can always adjust as you go along. There's nothing set in stone
What
with
do you do? You did
business.
like an email out, hey, we got this
Yeah.
new product coming in, and pre-order it.
Exactly. And I was hoping, like with the Yeezys, I get these things and they're like, oh, the new Yeezys coming out. Download this app. Sign up for this. And I do all the shit. And then I
Right.
still don't even get the Yeezys. So I thought maybe that it would build up some anticipation or some hype. And it was like, boop. So,
I hate when people make me download an app. Just give me the fucking information. It's not like that was my one gripe with Red Rocks. Red Rocks, fantastic venue. Absolutely loved it. But like they made me download their app to get my tickets, and it was just annoying. So I just showed up to the ticket thing, and then of course you get this guy who's been smoking weed all day, like a real well, one of these fucking hipster guys who just doesn't want to help you. And this is my move
oh
when someone
no.
doesn't want to help me. Robert, I'll pay this one forward. It's great. You got to be calm. You got to be smiley. And you just go, whatever they tell you. Hey, so you're going to have to download the app. Sure, no problem. I tried doing that and I ran into a problem. Can you show me how to do that? And then they just like, fuck, I have to, like, it kind of snaps them out of like the just, like it snaps them out to go, oh, I have to like help this guy. I find 9 out of 10 times they're wrong. Like there actually is an issue. They look at your phone, they look at the app, or they look at like, and they're just like, and then they just go into the system and they hand you their shit. But I find 9 out of 10 times like their stuff actually isn't working properly. And if you just go, sure, no problem, happy to do that. I was having an issue
Exactly.
with it. Can you show me? It just like that shuts them down. They're like, ah, fuck. All right, I guess I have to help this person. You just
Yeah,
play it like you're an old lady, an old Jewish lady who can't figure things out.
that's the trick to life. And then you just walk, breeze right through. That's the tip.
All right,
Ask for
Robert, we're
help.
gonna. I actually I want to change my flight because I realized I might want to come in a little bit earlier, so that I can set up the show.
Oh,
We're gonna be by Forest Mommy. She's out in the woods. She's got a cool property,
hell
and
yeah.
I saw the setup into the woods. I think I'm gonna set it up like a mini Red Rocks because she's got like a porch and like a natural thing kind of comes down like this. So I think I'm gonna put myself up against the woods, seating in the middle, seating up, seating around, and I'm gonna try and maybe film that as a comedy special. So I
Okay.
might try and get out there a day early, but I like this idea of this 1 mile hill run. I think that's fun.
Oh man, it'll break you, but we'll get broke
No,
together
it's
because I
good. I'll
haven't.
start. That gives me a fitness goal to train for. I like that.
All right. Well, as always, it is a huge pleasure
Let's
to
race
come
it.
on
Let's
here.
race it. Well,
Oh shit. Let's
no
do.
spread. Even race.
All right.
How many? What's the total stairs? I got to figure out what a mile of stairs looks like.
Like at least, I mean, it's at least 1,000.
At least
I yeah.
I got to figure out how to train for 1,000 stairs. I got about a month. This is about no. This is 2 months, dude. 2 months. This is a good challenge. Two
Yeah.
months, 1,000 stairs. What do you? We can work on what the bet will be.
Okay. No, we're not
We can
blowing each other.
No. We're not going to do that. We'll work on a bet, but I think this is a good fitness challenge, and we can promote
Absolutely.
it. Robert, the Roberts, dueling of the Roberts
Dueling of the
for
Roberts.
Sheath greatness.
Sheath Glory. Sheathunderwear.com. Use promo code RYM and you're going to save 20%. And every now and then, if you go at night, we'll do these little flash sales and you'll get more of a discount and you can still use the code.
Ooh, that's pretty good. That's good
We
hack.
Yeah, that's another like thing. I'm every day, and I'm gonna go, but every day I'm checking the sales and the trend and like this like whatever the trend looks like it's gonna be, and I can tell by like 8 a.m. how the day is gonna turn out. And but around 4 or 5 or 6 p.m. If the sales are a little low, then we'll be like, all right, throw a sale on. That's what's cool about having an internet business as opposed to like a storefront where it's like turn on the sale, and everything gets discounted like on a flip of a switch. But we also have a store in Woodland Park, as you know, and we're growing, and we're so grateful for Gas Digital and Robbie the Fire here. It's a great partner. We're going to be at Skankfest Vegas. It's going to be a party. We're going to get crazy. All right,
Robert, we're going to be in touch, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to start training.
All right, buddy. All right. Enjoy.
Have
the great rest of your show.
All right. Later, Robert.
Later, brother.
That is our loyal sponsor, Robert from Sheath. Go load up. Every time I do one of these live shows, people keep coming up to me. They're showing off their Sheath, like pulling up the straps, showing off what they're wearing. So join Team Sheath. All right. So let's get into some actual news topics. I got one more plug, and then we will do that. I like the cult of porch that I am building, and I'm liking the community experience and how much people are willing to not just show up, enjoy the shows, buy a ticket, hang out for the live podcast. But people have been really supportive. And so I want to shout out a couple individuals who really helped out. And you guys should go check out these businesses. So when we were out in Sandpoint, Idaho, I mean, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. We're out in the woods. Usually I'm hauling gear. Usually I'm doing setup. And those guys really made it happen out in the middle of nowhere. So I do want to shout out a couple of individuals, because if you guys are living out in the Idaho area, these might be really helpful businesses for you. The first is Big Note Audio. Guy came out, Lou, couldn't have been more professional. Apparently he's got enough gear that he said he could be doing a stadium, but he literally showed up, lights, camera, equipment, everything, got it done. Shout out to him. If you've got any events going on in the area, I'm just telling you, I've worked with a bunch of people. Lou just showed up and just got it done. He just he got that military background that Robert's got, where it's just dead focus, gets it done. Other one is Top of the World 7B made an awesome show poster for me. They were putting them around town, and it was funny when I got to walk around town and see pictures of me with Bigfoot and pictures of me as if I was doing a what's it called? A transgender rating thing, whatever they call those. And then the last one is, of course, I'm sorry, that was Government is Lame. Top of the World 7B. I might have messed up all these. Nick, who hosted us, who was the man, is setting up a recording studio in his basement. So if you're a recording artist, he's worth networking with. He's got a very cool setup down there. We were smoking weed, watching Beavis and Butthead. That was a fun time. Government is lame, show posters and that kind of stuff. He made the poster for me. And then last is A Twisted History of the United States is out. We did an excellent podcast a couple of weeks ago. Book is out. It's a worthwhile read. Go pick it up. All right, now let's get into some news topics here. Here we go. What do I got? Oh, first is we got Jill Biden talking about tacos. We can listen to this.
This morning, First Lady Jill
of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here.
This morning, First Lady Jill
There
Biden.
you go. You guys all probably already saw the clip, but she's there. She's talking about breakfast tacos. People are getting upset at her. They're saying, hey, this is offensive. But I feel like at this point, can you really fault Jill Biden? I mean, she spends enough time around Joe. How do you not become an idiot? Like, even if you started off with the doctorate, you spend all day with Joe, and then she spends times around Kamala, so she thinks it's normal to, like, laugh at the end of your own shitty jokes. So that's why, and who are these speechwriters? Maybe the real fault here are these people that are writing these jokes for them and handing them to them because someone else writes this shit. Someone told her that it was going to be a good idea, and it's got to suck being the first lady when you're hanging out with some dude who's got dementia, he's shitting his pants, farting in front of the Pope, wandering around the kitchen in the afternoon, thinking it's the nighttime, asking for his first wife, wondering why the wrong kid died. And he's just walking around. He's looking for his dentures. He's showing off his nice legs that for some reason haven't aged at the same pace as the rest of him. And then you're like, all right, well, if this guy can run the country, I mean, certainly I can go give a speech. I think the same thing happened to Hillary Clinton. You're standing around, your husband's just some creep, likes hanging out with Epstein. You're like, this guy's not any smarter than I am. And then you think you can do the job too. All right, here we go. We got Bolton, who I always wondered with Bolton, because obviously he's like the crazy, war hawk guy. He wants to fight everybody. Him and McCain, you could debate who is more interested in going ahead and pushing these wars. I always kind of wondered if maybe Bolton was playing a bit of a character where, like, behind closed scenes, maybe he was a little bit more rational. But the idea was to get on the news and pretend like that you were this person who wanted to fight everybody all the time, so that maybe if you got a cabinet position, people in other countries were afraid that you were going to be aggressive because you've got this guy. It's kind of like the way smaller dogs bark the loudest. I'm not saying that that's the way Bolton operates. I'm just pulling theories out of my ass. I don't know what show you watch, but that's what we do here. I pull theories out of my ass. So I've always wondered that with Bolton, if maybe he's actually a little bit more rational than he comes off. And when he's on the news and other things, he's talking about, yeah, let's fight everybody all the time. So then if he gets into cabinet positions, people like Russia are afraid or something like that. But here he is, probably being a little bit too honest. Let's give it a listen.
Nothing Donald Trump did after the election in connection with the lie about the election fraud, none of it is defensible. None of it is defensible. It's also a mistake, as some people have said, including on the committee, the commentators, that somehow this was a carefully planned coup d'etat aimed at the Constitution. That's not the way Donald Trump does things. It's rambling from one half-vast idea to another, one plan that falls through and another comes up. That's what he was doing. As I say, none of it defensible. But you have to understand the nature of what the problem of Donald Trump is. He's, to use a Star Wars metaphor, a disturbance in the force. And it's not an attack on our democracy.
All right, let's pause for 1 second. First is, I think this is the most honest recap of the way Donald Trump actually operates, which is he's just winging it. He gets bored. He yells. He screams. He's just kind of wheeling and dealing. One day he wants to talk about carpets. Next day he wants to talk about drapes. Next day he's like, I don't understand why this office wasn't redone. He's like just a very successful ADD kid with good sales tactics who runs his mouth, yells at people, has no problem with confrontation, just no problem with confrontation whatsoever. And so he just yells, fires, and screams, and sometimes he gets his way, sometimes he doesn't. He just kind of keeps it moving. I think that's all pretty honest. Now, when Bolton describes him as a disturbance in the force, well, what he's just kind of describing is, hey, we've got this deep state thing going. We've got the democracy that we'd like to see run with our standard politicians who will approve all the things that, us in the deep state are looking for. We got people that will just push our wars. They'll just push these policies. And so he's a disturbance in traditional democracy because he's so popular and so many people will vote for him. But he's not the traditional politician that we all like because they will do our bidding. So first part, he's actually being honest. And then even in the second part, where he's describing the way he sees Donald Trump as just basically not being I mean, it's funny that they go democracy. I mean, that's not democracy. It's what the people want, right? That's what people voted for. But the powers that be don't want the people that, we want or that we'll vote for. They want the career politicians that are part of the system. But then comes the real honest part.
Democracy. It's Donald Trump looking out for Donald Trump. It's a once in a lifetime occurrence.
I don't know that I agree with you. To be fair, with all due respect, one doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'état, not here, but other places, it takes a lot of work, and that's not what he did. It was just stumbling around from one idea to another.
There you go. I'm a world-class expert in this, and let me tell you, it's above Donald Trump's pay grade. Donald Trump isn't sitting around. He ain't doing the planning for it. I've done the planning, and that's not what he did.
Nothing Donald Trump
wasn't what Jake Tapper was looking for. All right, next is we got Elon Musk is walking away from the deal. Twitter's all like, you can't have the deal. This is a fun one. Elon Musk goes, I'm going to buy your company. They're like, we don't want you to buy our company. He goes, listen, I'm going to throw down so much money, you're not going to have a choice but to sell me your company. And they're like, we don't want to sell you the company. He goes, this is so much money. You're going to get in trouble if you don't go ahead and take it. And they're like, fine, we'll take that money, but you got to sign a deal that you're taking this thing as is. It's $1 billion if you walk away. Elon Musk says yes. Then he turns around and he goes, listen, I'm going to need those numbers. And they're like, but we had a deal. You said you were buying this thing no matter what. You said that you wanted this thing so bad you were going to take it and pay us a shit ton of money for it. Now you got to pay us a shit ton of money. He goes, I ain't buying it. Unless you're going to give me those numbers, I ain't buying it. Now, the numbers that he's looking for is how many bots are on the platform. So obviously, if they're out there and they're selling advertisers, they're going, look at all these impressions you're going to get. If they're out there and they're getting everyone to be on there because they think all these people are seeing all their shit, and then all like the news people will cover the tweets that are on Twitter because they think that because it's on Twitter, it's reaching a large audience. That's what makes it important. It's a fucking old school gimmick. You pretend like you're all important, and then other people think you're all important. What a fantastic marketing play. So, Twitter's been out there pretending like it's got all sorts of influence, and then it becomes reinforcing because then the news networks want to quote you for being on Twitter. And then you're like, okay, Twitter's the place where it's happening. So now the question is, how many bots are out there? And why do you got this guy, Elon Musk, saying, I want to go buy your company, and then not demanding that information up front, and then walking away from the whole thing? I'm going to float another theory out of my ass because that's what I do here. Elon Musk, he's a little bit, he's a different pay grade of brilliance. He's a tier above the rest of us. It's hard to know exactly what he's angling for. And I wonder if he was just looking to ruin Twitter the entire time. If he was looking to expose them for the vehicle of censorship that they are, because the second he showed up, they already started making some changes. It seemed like things that were shadow banned became unbanned. Some people that were kicked off the platform were allowed back on the platform. Maybe it's not that easy for them to reverse course. And then if he also is able to expose the fact that there's a lot of bots and other problems with the platform, maybe he just fucking ruins it. And then he goes and starts his competing company. Or maybe he just wanted to kind of like poke at them for being so into censorship and just be like, you know what? I'm going to do something about this. Like I'm an evil billionaire and I can play evil billionaire tricks. So if you guys are going to be out there censoring, let's play this game. So who knows what he's angling for, or maybe it's a very aggressive trick just to lower his purchase price. Or maybe he got so much backlash that he realized it might create a problem for Tesla that he just wants out of this thing. But I'm just saying, Elon Musk, smart guy. We don't know specifically what he's going after. And maybe he was just looking to not buy them and kind of expose them the whole time. All right, this is Dylan saying Musk pulled a Bolton and said Orange Man bad. That's true. He got spanked pretty good by Trump too. All right, we got more news stories, and we got the more interesting. We got the real stuff coming at you. Don't be fooled. It's not all nonsense talk today. What else we got? Heathrow Airport imposes temporary passage cap to curb travel chaos. They're capping it at 100,000 people a day. You know why? Because they can't process it anymore. And here's what's interesting about this. I would call that rationing. Government stepping in and they're going, hey, listen, we've got to cap how many people can get these goods and services. Now, why shouldn't that be left to market prices? Why couldn't it be that, I guess, something could just be charged more for so that you can actually offer the services? I was trying to work on a joke about this for a while, and it just never got a laugh. So I had to shelve it, and I want to bring it back. But to me, it's like, I prefer if a business would just charge me the price of what something costs, right? And just accept that there's inflation and charge me more, versus where they do this thing and they try and pretend like there isn't inflation. So it's like, you can get a hotel room, but you got to check in later. There's less towels there, and you got to check out earlier. Or it's like they'll sell you a plane ticket, but that plane may or may not be there. You know what I mean? It's like, why not just tell me what the price of the goods and services cost, and then I can make an evaluation of whether or not I want the goods and services, versus pretending like there's a price at which you can sell me something that doesn't exist. And then I got to deal with, like, it's the equivalent of insurance, what they call kind of policing claims, where, there might be a cheaper insurance company that tells you, yeah, I can fully insure you for $25 a month. But then all of a sudden you get to old age, you're looking for that long-term care, and they start policing the claims. They're not actually giving it to you. It's like, just tell me the price so that I can actually evaluate it. And it's interesting because I feel like we're starting to see the cracks in the socialism armor of government coming in saying that we could mitigate the cost of shutting down Corona or other things. And now we're starting to see rationing, and it's like airports seem to be the first victims and the first cracks in the armor. United Bodega of America's joined call to drop charges against Jose Alba, bodega worker accused of murder. If you guys haven't seen this footage, basically, we talked about it on the last part of the problem. And this was a weird one because originally the full video was up, and then like that got scrubbed from the internet, and you were only able to see the partial video. Lady comes in, trying to bag some chips, trying to buy it off her EBT card. Ain't got no money for the chips. Guy takes it out of the kid's hands. Supposedly, this part's not on tape. She goes, "Oh man, I'm gonna bring my man." She goes home, tells her man, "Oh, I need my man on this one. Guy took some chips. You better get in there." And then he shows up and he goes, "Listen, I don't know what happened, but she's telling me I gotta fight you, so we're gonna fight now." So he walks into like the little back area, starts wrestling with the guy. And the guy, I guess he's got a knife back there. So he grabs his knife, pulls some. It's like a prison shower fight minus the rape. He fucking gets in there, manages to stab the guy. Lady manages to stab the bodega worker. Bodega worker ends up getting arrested. Everyone's like, man, you should be able to defend yourself. And then I just thought it's funny to me that the bodegas have a union. You think of like the car union, you think of the teacher union, you think of the flight unions. You don't think that these guys slinging some cigarettes and energy drinks on your corner store, making some sandwiches, have a united union. And then I was like, it would be funny if we lived in a country where that was the world's most powerful union. Like the people that actually won elections was because they got the corner stores on their side. Like if they were talking about the delegation of corner stores, like imagine if the corner store union was as powerful as like the Israel lobby. Be fun. All right, I'm tired. Probably had more on that joke. Here we go. Floating abortion clinic proposed in Gulf to bypass bans, which is way more fun than the ideas that I had. I was proposing back alley abortion economies, investing early in things that seem like spas. I was talking about like an Uber van service taking you to other states. This is way more fun. A fucking abortion boat? You can like a cruise ship. You can get your abortion on and then get right back to drinking. You can show up with your lady friends, like taking a boat ride out on the harbor. Maybe you do it on the upper deck. You get a nice view the whole time. But then I was thinking of a great comedy horror movie. Here's the pitch. Robert, if you're still listening and you want to fund this movie, or YoKratom.com, home of the $6 kilo. Yo Kratom, they got that kilo money because there's no better prices on the internet. If you're into Kratom, you're not going to find a better place anywhere on the internet. Doesn't exist, doesn't happen. And so, you know what happens? All these people that like Kratom, they're all buying it from YoKratom.com because it's the best place to get it. And so who knows? Maybe not just sponsoring Skankfest in this podcast, maybe they'll sponsor this movie. So if you're out there, people of Yo Kratom, whose names I won't mention, but you know who you are, I'm going to send you this clip. I'm going to play it for you when I give you a call this afternoon. Here's my movie pitch. You ready? It's a horror movie. It's a comedy horror movie about a lady who's the greatest karate leg kicker of all time. I mean, this lady, she's traveled the globe, and you wouldn't believe the karate kicks. She keeps winning competitions, and she front kicks, leg kicks, side kicks, spinning back kicks. I mean, we're talking about the greatest karate leg kicker in human history. And it's a horror movie. So this lady, but in this universe, she's not the great champion karate taekwondo leg kicker lady. She's just a normal lady who happens to have a dad who was really into karate. So like, she's like the chosen one when it comes to karate leg kick. She never did anything with it because her whole life she was just kind of like a loser. She ended up like working shitty jobs and boy, like the whole thing. But she should have been the greatest karate leg kicker of all time. So what we do is we got to cast the greatest female karate leg kicker of all time into the movie, but she's just going to play a regular person who never came to karate leg kick greatness, right? And now she's on this abortion boat because she's living in her shitty, scrappy small town. And, every once in a while she's getting drunk and she's banging people she doesn't want to be having sex with. And, she's all drunk all the time. So she's just taking the loads up inside of her. It's a sad story until she turns it around and gets to karate leg kicking greatness. This is a sad story about a good-looking lady who's on the wrong side of not doing well in college, roaming around, young 30s, drunk, taking loads from random dudes after nights at the bar. We've all been there. Don't pretend like you've never woken up in the morning, had to clean some clum out of your asshole. It's happened to all of us. And most of us don't have the ability to reach karate leg kick greatness. Most of us don't have that hidden skill, but this lady does. And so she finds out in her state she can't get an abortion, but then her friends go, hey, look, I booked us tickets for the abortion cruise. We're all going to go. And so they all go on the abortion cruise. They're hanging out on the deck. It's Act 1. Everyone's having a great time. There's manly men, and they got fun activities, and it's girl night, and they're having a great time, right? That's Act 1. First 15 minutes, we see this lady's shitty life. We see that it comes all the way to a head when she realizes she's going to have to get an abortion. She realizes she can't get the abortion. End of Act 1. Friend comes. Don't worry. I've got tickets for this abortion cruise. Now we get to the abortion cruise, and the first couple scenes, it's a party. They've made the best decisions their entire life. Day 2, she goes to operate, and now's where it becomes a horror movie because what you forgot, this is international waters. Anything can happen on international waters. And guess what? They're not just taking abortions. Oh, no, they're collecting organs. They're taking your body parts. But this lady, the amnesia thing, it didn't work well enough or whatever they do to knock you out. So she wakes up on the operating table, and they took her arms. She wakes up, she looks at both, and she realizes she doesn't have any arms, but she's the greatest karate leg kicker of all time. And so they realize, oh my God, this lady woke up. And one of the doctors like, well, don't worry. She doesn't have any arms. What is she going to do? And then bam, fucking kicks that guy, knocks him out, starts getting up, and she's doing like Russian leg kicks. She knocks out everybody in the whole room. And now she's got to try and escape this boat using nothing but her legs. I don't have a title yet, nor a sponsor. And I thought of that this morning. So, I'll punch it up. I'll write in. I'm a Jew. I got contacts in Hollywood. So I'm going to hit them up about the great karate leg kicker abortion boat, and that's just the first one. I'm sure we can get a whole franchise out of this. Just wait till we get to like season 4, 5, 6 of the no arm lady who was just trying to get an abortion. Maybe that could be the second movie, is that they took her arms before they even did the abortions. Then she ends up having the kid, and then she's got to raise that kid and teach him karate kicks. All right. I think we milked that for all that it was worth. And I haven't even really gotten into the real news topics yet. Adam James Cook is here with a great call, which is get Scarlett Johansson to do it. I think that is a perfect casting for this. Hey, Robbie, have you talked about Stieglitz in Sri Lanka and Ghana and the Netherlands today? That actually is our next topic. So you came through in just the right time with the right idea of what else I should be talking about. And I will also point out that if you haven't yet listened to the live Run Your Mouth from Pittsburgh, that is one of the topics that I did get into, and that's what I got stored for today. But before we do that, I was very happy to see that on Twitter today, there was a hashtag of Stop the Shots that was trending. I thought that was nice to see. There was a collection of what I would call bold claims of footage of people talking tragically about vaccine injuries that they have had. I cannot speak to the authenticity of whether or not those claims are true. I cannot even talk to the authenticity of this chart that I'm about to display for you guys. However, it just, I always like to see when there are trending topics on Twitter that are running contrary to anything being broadcast in mainstream media. Recent example, obviously, would have been Hunter Biden a couple days ago, which we're not going to talk about until I'm in Nashville. But obviously, you had the latest claims of 4chan going, hey, look, we cracked this guy's iCloud. And as I will showcase when we're in Nashville, not Google was very clearly censoring those results. It was not easy to find coverage on that in any capacity whatsoever. So I'm always happy when the free market is going, hey, here's something important, and media clearly isn't talking about it. So I was just happy to see that this topic was trending on Twitter. With that being said, they were claiming that the day that Boris Johnson stepped down, and it appears to me that the main reason Boris Johnson was being forced down was over that moment when we found out that he was partying throughout Corona, despite how strict the country was being on it. And now the most recent news, or at least according to this chart, is that nearly everybody getting sick, or I believe it's hospitalized in England, is vaccinated individuals. It is now a pandemic of the vaccinated. You remember when they were telling us all the percentages? When was the last time you heard a percentage about who in hospital is vaccinated versus unvaccinated? Why aren't they giving us that information anymore? And so it appears, at least according to this random piece of information on Twitter, that that story managed to get buried. All right, now we talk about the Sri Lanka stuff. So working off of some headlines here, and obviously headlines don't give the full story. We all know how often you see a headline and then you can dig in and you're like, that headline has absolutely nothing to do with this article whatsoever. But I want to work off two headlines here and build a bit of a story. Now, when it comes to bigger conspiracies such as the World Economic Forum and that kind of stuff, my research tends not to go to, hey, there's 4 people in a room and they're orchestrating everything that's going on around us. I tend to focus a little bit more on, hey, these people are clearly lying to me, or here, this is pushing socialism. And we all know that socialism means that certain companies are trying to, make sure that they can get theirs by providing goods and services without competition, and basically removing competition and the need to create value in the marketplace so that, they can control goods and services in the name of, hey, I'm trying to help you out. I would say in a nutshell, that's kind of more of what I focus on. I don't go this layer further of, hey, are there specific random individuals who are sitting in a room who are really orchestrating these things and with an evil agenda. Now, over the last couple days, starting with what I was talking about in Pittsburgh, which what was going on with the Netherlands in the reducing of nitrogen and seemingly reducing our capability for farmers to both operate their farms and for the world to be fed. I will say I'm now on my own. If no one ever told me about the World Economic Forum and I'm reading about that all these countries that want to limit nitrogen, I start going I don't understand why. I don't understand who would be pushing this. And I'm not saying anything is an absolute here, people. I'm just saying that it is starting to paint a little bit of a creepy picture. So I see this article basically talking about surging gas prices likely drove U.S. inflation to 40-year high. Headline from the AP kind of makes sense. Now, gas prices might come down, but if you got an environment of high gas prices, transportation costs are going up, everything's going up in price, right? Then I see another headline, and this is from Breitbart. World Economic Forum, gas prices must go even higher to save democracy. All right, so Breitbart, they're not usually my traditional news source. I nearly never read them. And yes, we are in the more fantastical side of the internet right now. But just contrasting the headlines of, hey, prices are going up because of gases, to World Economic Forum going, we want even higher gas prices. And now this is somewhat in line with what I've heard from your Bidens and your Janet Yellens going, hey, listen, if we're working on fossil fuels, then we're going to be reliant on Russia, and we can't be reliant on Russia. So what we need is higher fuel prices so that we can actually make your green energy profitable. Now, obviously, we've already gone down this rabbit hole enough times. The whole thing's lunacy because you can just go nuclear. So you're not even trying to solve the problem. You're claiming it's a problem. All right. But with all that, and so then you start leaning towards, it does seem like they're trying to curb growth and population and other things. But let's just understand, prices are going up. Prices are going up, and energy costs are definitely a factor in prices going up. I'm being clear with my words, a factor. I'm not saying the only factor, but it's clearly a factor in prices going up. And then you got people going, hey, let's push these even higher, because if we push them even higher, then green energy is going to make sense. And then this is from this article. They're claiming that this is what the World Economic Forum said. First, leading democracies should agree to end underpricing of fossil fuels. That's a fun way to say it. It's underpriced, which is the principal factor preventing a clean energy transition. Because if fossil fuels were super expensive, then your windmill would make sense. And all right, you hear that and you're like, all right, cool. Windmills are going to make sense, except that means that everything's more expensive and people are probably going to starve. And there's probably going to be rationing of all goods and services and energy consumption, because now all of energy is more expensive. You understand? That's the flip side of it. Oh, if energy costs us more, then windmills will make sense. Well, windmills make sense when everything's super expensive. So how about we just don't make everything super expensive? All right, let's continue. The underpricing associated with producing and burning oil and gas amounted to 5.9 trillion in economic costs in 2020. Nearly a quarter of these losses, 1.5 trillion, occurred in 48 major and smaller democracies. The leading democracies of the G20 should collectively commit to phasing out costs and tax breaks for the production and consumption of fossil fuels. They should also phase in more effective pricing of fossil fuels through taxes or tradable permits to cover the cost of local air pollution, global warming, and other economic damages. Because obviously we can quantify the cost of global warming. I didn't even think people were talking about global warming anymore. I thought it was climate change. I thought the thing was going through puberty, having a couple rough years. And then this is from Jack Posobiec on Twitter. And this was something that was being widely reported today, but not like on your Google News, not on your Google News, but in your more conspiratorial lanes of news or conservative information. So Sri Lanka, obviously, they just got overthrown. It's interesting. I want to make clear, this is not a racist remark on Sri Lankan individuals. This is humans in general. It's interesting when you see massive amounts of humans actually like storming a government office, and then you start to realize the power of the masses. People almost start looking like cockroaches overtaking a building, where you just like when you see the bird's eye view, and this is not a human perspective, but it almost looks like an ant colony where you're like, wow, it's almost like when you watch zombie movies and there's enough zombies that, like, even though you got tanks, you got your this, you got your that, it just kind of doesn't work. It's interesting visually to see, because you don't really see it all that often. So they took over, they got rid of this Sri Lankan president guy, prime minister. And now the conservatives are hopping on the storyline, and they're saying that this was the result of policies that the World Economic Forum has been trying to be pushing, that this guy was working in tandem with them. He's been trying to implement their economic policies, and that's what's led to the upheaval in that country. I'm going to guess that it's largely, a lot of it just has to do with the world shutting down over coronavirus, and I bet other debt issues that they had. But there were claims that there was an article written on the World Economic Forum from the Sri Lanka Prime Minister about, this is how I will make my country rich by 2025. And he's talking about all these World Economic Forum ideas, which the World Economic Forum, I mean, just to break it down, they want everything to be like going to the laundromat. And the laundromat sucks. I mean, if that's your pitch of, hey, isn't it cool that if you can't afford a laundry machine, you can show up to a laundromat and then you can rent that machine for a period of time? Wouldn't it be great if everything... No, that's the worst part of my life, is I got to go to a fucking laundromat to do my fucking laundry, that I show up with dirty clothes and then I leave thinking I got the coronavirus. And then I go, oh shit, I got to waste another night here because my shit isn't even fucking dry. And then you got to fold it. The fucking laundromat fucking sucks. That's your pitch for everything in my life should look like a fucking laundromat. I should have to spend hours. I got to be nervous about machines. I got to show up with quarters. I'm going to have to spend my entire my entire life with a backpack full of quarters so I can, rent machines for short periods of time. And then everywhere I go, they don't even have fucking quarters. They don't even have quarters. You're going to find out you need quarters for everything, but the Federal Reserve can't get you any fucking quarters. That's the life the World Economic Forum wants me to live in? All right. Brings me to, all right. Wait, no, I wanted to read this one quote. which I don't even know where I got this from. Sorry, everybody. Right, we're a longer show than I expected. Notably, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa also promised in 2019 to transition the country's farmers to organic agriculture over 10 years, following up in April 2021 by imposing a nationwide ban on fertilizers and pesticides and ordering the country's 2 million farmers to go organic. Sounds kind of similar to what's going on in the Netherlands, where they're telling people that they can't operate their farms and that they've got to reduce the nitrogen. I also saw a headline today about in Canada that Trudeau, who's another one of these World Economic Forum guys, is saying that they got to limit nitrogen usage down like an additional 30%. I forgot the exact year. I'm not fully researched on this. I'm just starting to kind of piece together that this storyline that I was ignoring for a while seems to be getting a little bit creepier. Now, on the plus side, it just failed drastically in Sri Lanka. And you see these countries where they're just like, fuck you. Like, none of this makes sense. I don't understand why India and China are going to continue to pollute the environment. And you're telling me that I can't own my farm. And you don't really have the specifics on the contribution that this is making to, and like, we need food right now. Like, right now, we need food. So if there's going to be a problem with the environment, like, can we eat food now so that we can figure out how to be rich enough in the future to maybe correct for the problem in the environment? And what specifically is the problem with the environment? Like, or do you have other food ready to go? You got your worms ready to go. You got your fake meat ready to go. And then you're going to end up finding out with the worms and the other shit that however the fuck it's produced creates just as much pollution, if not more, because that's the way it always goes. All right. So with that being said, with the way I've approached these things is to go, hey, here's when the news is lying to me, and here's where it seems to be pitching socialism or protectionism for large companies at the expense of competition, innovation, companies needing to bring you value. Is I'm readily willing to admit that I might have been wrong in my end of year misinformation spectacular in the way I was describing the ESG scores. It seemed to me that your most popular brand, like your most favorited players attached to government, your BlackRocks and others, were making investments that would not be profitable without government legislation, such as green energy. And so what they were trying to do is create an environment where government regulation and financing would only go to things that they were going to invest in and control in the name of green energy. And the result of that would be basically higher costs, less innovation, removal of value from the marketplace in favor of these basically bigger banks, bigger players making money on things that otherwise would not be profitable investments because they're forcing money into it in government funds and resources. It seems like the ESG story was actually a different racket where, like I said, normally without government regulation and bullshit, you got to create some value. So if you're trying to sell somebody your financial services, the value that you're going to have to bring them is the fact that you made them more money. But now let's say you pretend that you're being more moral than the other guy. And so investing with me is actually charitable because even though I won't make you as much money, I'm helping make the world a better, greener place. Then you might be able to charge higher fees and you might be able to make more money without creating more value to your clients. So it seems that part of the ESG, I think it actually started out a little bit more nefarious and the way that I was looking at it. And I think they would still ideally like to bring it there where their non-profitable investments would become profitable because of government legislation. But it does seem like the current usage of the ESG is just pretending that you're ESG compliant when your returns aren't there or when it suits you so that you can pretend like you're doing something for the world even when you aren't, or it becomes a compliance thing where if you're Goldman Sachs, maybe it's easier to get your ESG approved rating, whereas if you're Tesla, it's not as easy to get that approval. And so it's a different way of getting away from competition and creating value and a different way of kind of regulating the favoritism that more institutional and powerful players are looking for. So here's an article from the Wall Street Journal, The Many Reasons ESG is a Loser. You'll pay for far higher expenses for a fund with similar stocks but worse performance. We're going to read a little bit. So yes, you're paying someone 5 to 15 times as much to adjust some weightings and perform worse. For BlackRock, ESG and sustainable investing don't seem to be about responsible or socially just investing. They are simply a lucrative business model. And it's not only ESG. In May, BlackRock and the UN announced plans for gender lens investing. Can they even say that anymore? Fidelity already has a women's leadership ETF with a net expense of 0.59% and a similar themed mutual fund with 0.90 expense ratio, 20 to 30 times the cost of an S&P 500 ETF. And so I would like to pitch to you guys, let's create the Women in Leadership Ultra Short Fund, where we ultra short whatever these people are betting on solely because there's female leaders. Let's bet against women. For every bet, there's a counter bet. Like you look at that movie, the Big Short, all these big banks, they were betting on the housing market. They're betting on subprime mortgages going up, up, up. Michael Berry and other people stepped in and said, I'm going to bet on that going down, down, down. And so you and me, who else is in on this? You want a sure moneymaker? Let's get together. Let's forge our resources. Let's bet against women. That'd be a fun place to close. But let's just read this last paragraph. University of Colorado professor Sanjay Bhatt, writing the Harvard Business Review, makes 4 important points about ESG. 1, ESG funds have underperformed. 2, companies that tout their ESG credentials have worse compliance records for labor, and environmental rules. 3, ESG scores of companies that signed the UN Principles of Investment didn't improve after they signed, and financial returns were lower for those that signed. And my favorite point, 4, companies publicly embrace ESG as a cover for poor business performance. It makes sense. When earnings are bad, companies cite their focus on ESG. When earnings are good, they drop ESG references. Actually, this is as dangerous as ESG metrics drive overinvestment by ESG funds and companies bragging about their credentials rights as their financials turn south. Ouch. I think that's only, I got to be honest, I think that's only an element. I think if they could actually win the game, or they're leaning into the infrastructure of, since they're diverting more resources into these funds, they do go up in value. A lot of stock prices are actually, if people are buying it. So if the institutional investors are buying one stock for ESG compliance over another one, the ESG compliance stock can go up in value. And then if they can pull more trickery in terms of financing available or legislation that kills competition, those might go up in value. So this could just be kind of version 1 of ESG, where it's more of a financial scam and that they're not bringing the value promised to investors. But I just don't think that the regulation that these guys are looking for has necessarily kicked in yet. All right. Anything else? No, that's it. I feel like that was a good thing to end on, is, bet against women. Guys, summer porch store dates coming up. I have some new ones to announce on the next episode. And then I think, they'll probably be the last ones that we'll announce for the summer, but they're going to be cool ones, cool locations. Of course, the epic conclusion to summer porch tour. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Epic conclusion to summer porch tour is going to be at Forest Mommy's house. I was just plugging that with Robert. It's going to be the smoke out, bug out. And hopefully, if I can get it all together, I'm going to tape something, put it out on the YouTubes. Prior to that, we've got Max's house, Max's OG porch tour. I look forward to it all summer. We don't just go there for porch tour. I've been there on random nights just to party at his bar with him. We also did a winter edition when I did my end of year recap. Max has a private bar on his property. He's also got a big ass backyard that you can camp at. That one, I bring out all the stops for. We're going to have the Shedcast guys, full rap concert. You're going to have myself. You're going to have a couple comics. And then there will be a live podcast late at night from the bar for sure. That was a fun one. Just fucking, I don't know how far you got to travel, but you should travel there and you should camp out. The day before that, I'm going to be in Arlington, bringing a bunch of comics with me. We're at a bar. There was a holdout throughout all the Corona stuff with the mask mandates. I think the regional LP for putting together that gig, that's going to be pure stand-up comedy. And then obviously this weekend, Atlanta and Nashville with BK Chris. Those are going to be fucking fun-ass shows. And then this upcoming week, also, I think it's July 19th at Caroline's. All of these will be linked in the episode description. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. Enjoy your work days. Oh, let's take a couple comments. I keep teasing like I'm going to be done. Here we go. Robbie has been to a laundromat for sure. Yes, I have. The funniest thing on the show today was, no, I fucking hate laundromats. It's the worst part of my life. Thank you, Dirty Mike. Adam James Cook. I've been against women for 30 years. There you go. That guy gets it. In China, they are purposely making people allergic to meat by using an illness transferred by ticks to force people off meat. Send me the hot take, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I would love to cover that. All right, last one. Here we go. Not only were the conspiracy theorists correct, they were spot on every time. Unironically, I don't listen to the corporate press at all. Only run your mouth and signals for my bowl of oatmeal. That's the way to do it. Let me know what the oatmeal reads are. Later.